Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Chip Talks podcast. So, we are doing interviews now, which is fun. And today I've got a very, very special guest named Carri Baldwin. And
Hi.
Carrie is the mother of three, count them, three autistic kiddos. And not only that, they are triplets. So, welcome, Carrie. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to talk to you and really dive into what you do. So do you want to talk just a little bit about your situation? I mean, you have, children that are autistic and they are triplets. So you want to kind of just describe each situation a little bit, and because autistic situations are so interesting and unique.
They are all three very unique. Yes, my girls are identical twins, and then we have Triton. So, Triton was the firstborn. He is my nonverbal. He does communicate. We have a device, and he uses that at school for education. He does really well with that. Also in church, so he gets a lot. We get a lot of church things on there. Um, he does really good in school with it. So he is still kind of nonverbal. He does speak when he's relaxed enough and he needs to. But we're working on that. He's doing better and better. Trinity, she is my she is my ADHD autistic. So, but she's also my most academic out of all of them. So she will be testing for her state test on a regular state test level this year. So I'm very happy about that. She is on the focus that you have. So I think that is a part of her that helps her with her calmer ADHD where she can accept knowledge better, I think.
Yeah.
Ariel is my very low key. She has some quirks. They still don't make a lot of eye contact, but she is my very artsy one. She is in piano and guitar, but that's the way she wants to go. And that relaxes her. So she plays piano and the guitar, and that makes a huge difference. Now she is on rest, which that helps her a lot. Her and Triton both are on the rest program or the rest tablets.
Rust tablets. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second because I do want to dive into how our products have helped your situation. But let's kind of talk a little bit more about you are an athlete and you are an athletic trainer and you're very fit. But you have gotten your kiddos involved in athletic training, and I want you to talk a little bit about that and the differences that you've seen maybe in their behavior kind of before and after you started it.
Okay. Well, we've always been pretty active, like going hiking and swimming. They love swimming, so they've always been very athletic as far as that. I started at a gym. We started a program for kids CrossFit, and I was the coach, so I brought them with me. So they would do the classes with them, with all of the kids and us, and they were doing a lot of the movements. They could do all of it. The girls were doing great, and even Triton was participating. He doesn't really follow directions very well. Or I can say he doesn't want to follow directions very well. So he's more of an individual. He'll do things on his own when he wants to do them. But he was participating, and then I was noticing after we'd done it a few times in the evening, we'd get home and everybody was more. They were calmer and they didn't seem as anxious, and their quirks were more diminished. Like Triton's, like he makes sounds. He does a lot of stimming,
Hmm.
but that's actually slowed down quite a bit since we've been on the tablets as well. So that's what I've noticed from them. His sleep pattern, of course, has gotten better too.
Okay, well let's dive into the product then because it'll be hard to kind of talk or not talk about the product, I guess. So you have found help, let's say, from some of our products that we have in True Medics that we have designed really at autism and for ADHD. So do you
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about kind of those products and how they've helped each kiddo and how each situation is different? So like ADHD, not so much maybe on the focus side, but on the calm side, so how have you tuned maybe each product to each situation? Because I think that's cool.
Well, that took some time also because it's hard. It's really kind of hard to see until you see it physically. Like their anxiety drops some and their quirks drop a little bit. It's just because it only happens like a little bit at a time. So sometimes it's hard for me to see until I see things a little bit further down the road, and I think, oh, okay, that's where it's stemming from. So it's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
But what I noticed in Trinity when she does the focus with her ADHD, she's always like squirrel, squirrel. But um, that slows down quite a bit. At least it does in school for her, because when she has to really focus, she can, and that leaves her ADHD out of the problem, and she can continue with her work, which is what I like about it. And that's gotten better and better as the more she's on it.
And she takes that in the morning, right before
Yes,
school.
we do. Yes, she takes focus in the morning. Now she's on rest in the evening to help calm, because she gets excited after school, and they do come home and decompress, and that's when I give them their rest. So we take rest again, and then and that just seems to calm the evening. And if we have classes, because the kids do martial arts now, which I love, and it's probably the Triton is almost, he's participating, which, and they're wearing the gloves, they're wearing the gear, they're the sounds, they're hitting the mats, the they're with like almost 10 other people in a crowd, and they're hitting the kickboxing bags. And so for me, Triton is he's getting better each week nearly. He's doing a little bit more each week, and he loves it. And that's the first time I've seen him emotionally react to that. So I keep them physical all the time, because it does make a huge difference, because when they come home, they're calm, and they talk. And Triton he will say more words in the evening for me than he will, especially after physical activity, because they also did track this summer with school for socializing, because next year we're starting high school. So I want them to be socializing with all the children they possibly can and their peers. And I think having those products on board helps them cope much better than what they
Yeah.
would without them.
Yeah,
Honestly.
no, and that is definitely what we get
So
reported.
I just think the blend of all of that together is a great combination. It took me a while to get it, because the kids grow each year. So to me, I think the dosage changes, and their bodies change. So you have to be aware of that too. So Trinity takes 2 of the focus in the morning, and we only take 1 rest at night. She doesn't
Okay.
need 2, but
Yeah.
1's fine. Triton
Yeah.
does need 2, and Ariel only needs 1. So that took time also.
And that's really cool it's good feedback for me too, to kind of really directly hear. I mean, I knew what products, that you have, but I didn't know
Yes.
directly kind of who was taking what and how much. So that always helps me, because this is still we're still learning here. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and so theory wise, I think I'm pretty well on autism, but how we affect change without having a $100 million lab and a bunch of
Yes.
millions to
Yeah.
help is takes sort of a time and trial and error. So with it, and again, for all you guys listening, this is a natural product, so these are 2 natural products that we're sort of introducing into an autism situation that are helping this situation. But that it's not like it's figured out. It's not like it's any kind of
No.
cure. It's each
No.
situation is very different. And so, if you think about autism as, again, there's a cause for autism, and that cause is likely some kind of pathogen, right? So some kind of disruption in the biome. Certainly, they all have disrupted biomes, but that could be causal, and that's what it's looking to be: Clostridium type bacteria. So again, how do we change that situation? Well, in the pharmaceutical world, we don't have an answer yet. There's no answer. So what we're finding in natural products is that exercise helps. And again, Carrie's just on it, with what she's doing with exercise. If you can get your kiddos to intermittent fast, and I'm not saying deny anybody any nutrition at all, I'm just saying get them to eat in a
Well,
certain
and I
window.
will say that
Yeah.
we do intermittent fast. And and the best way to do it, what I've seen, is that we have dinner around between 6:30 and 7 in the evening. Now, depending on our activities as well. Okay. So if I can get them to have dinner between 6 and 7 in the evenings, they don't eat breakfast until 7 the next morning. To me, that's intermittent fasting. That's 12 hours not eating. You've
Yeah.
done it. That's all it is. And that to
Yeah.
me was the easiest way for them as children, and now as teenagers, to do intermittent fasting, because I intermittent fast, because I think it's great for your body, and it keeps you healthy. And
Yep.
so children do it, but that's how I do them, and that's how I do myself. We just have dinner, and 12 hours later we have breakfast.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to do it. And literally, if you have a 12-hour or less window, 12 hours is kind of right at the beneficial mark. So over
Yeah.
12 hours, you're kind of hurting yourself, but under 12 hours, you're really helping. And that's helping those kids so much. It's so cool that you're doing that, and it takes some real discipline, to do that. It's hard to do.
Well, it takes
So
a
good
lot
for
of
you.
reading too. It's just diving
Yeah,
in,
no.
looking at everything because I didn't know. I mean, it was what I saw in my children physically from the exercise classes when we started to really for it to click in my head. It took a few times for me to notice it because I didn't notice it. I just not something I looked for. It's what something I wasn't expecting it. It's not what I thought. It's not what. So you have to look for the small things because that's where people say, I don't know if it's working. I don't know if it's working. Well, it takes time and it has to stay in their system. To me, it has to stay in their system. The more it stays in their system on a regular, because they take their pills that we go 6 p.m. Then we go 6 a.m. So I can notice it that way. And if they need more, then I can give them like the calm liquid later and it just kind of carries on better. And you can see that I can. It just, like I said, it's what works for your children, what you notice, but noticing it's small stages. So it depends on how aware you are. You have to be very aware. And most people are very aware of their autistic children's quirks and how they work. So you notice them a lot. And I notice when they start to diminish, when it's not as often, or it's not as loud, and their sleep patterns are going awesome. They've had great sleep patterns for the last 4 or 5 years. And even Triton's has been really good. I mean, he may get up, once in a great moon now, but there was times we were up 2 or 3 nights a week. And now it's like
And,
maybe he might have one bad night every couple of months. And that's
and
it.
that's and that's since you've introduced the rest
Yeah.
product, right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
that's what I see. That's because I see them all the time. But yeah. But
Yeah. So are you doing anything with diet, with food? Have you like tried to control diet? Yeah. Yeah. Good luck.
well, actually, I think I'm a little bit ahead of the spectrum. I think this is what helped my kids more because my kids they've never been aggressive. They've never hurt themselves either. I mean, they threw fits and things like that and were very, like fall down tantrum type things. Yes. But as far as hurting themselves, like biting or hurting others, I've never had that issue. But also, we also started from the get go because I've always been a meal prepper because I bodybuild and we ate great for competitions and you eat fairly well. So we planned on making our children's food from organic. So they started out organic anyway. So we had organic baby foods and everything like that. So I cooked all the vegetables in the foods and stuff when they were growing up. I made their baby food as they started to eat at the fire station because we had these big old cast iron pots and I just made baby food and put them in containers and froze them. So they had organic baby food from the beginning. They didn't do a lot of processed, nothing. We didn't buy baby food.
That's
We didn't do
awesome.
any of that. So when they were diagnosed, I had no idea what autism was, to be honest. I really didn't. Triton was our first one to be diagnosed because the girls they were speaking and trying, and he really wasn't. And we just thought, well, most boys, their speech comes later. So we waited and waited, and it was so. Then he was diagnosed, and then we had to figure that out. And the girls were diagnosed about a year later in pre-K, where the teachers were noticing things, and that's how we were aware of that.
So
But
about 3 or 4, were they
yeah,
diagnosed about 3 or 4 years old?
yes.
Yeah. Did they, just again, curious because were they born? Well, I guess you can't really tell developmentally if they were kind of born, or was there a point in time where you saw a noticeable, let's say, change in behavior? Or was it just, Triton wasn't speaking, as you said, and you kind of began to notice things around that time?
It was just around that time, and he was the main one we noticed. Like I said, Trinity would be um, things frustrated her a lot more. But like I said, I wasn't aware of what autism was or anything, so I
Yeah.
really had no idea. So she would be more frustrated and get more upset about things, and we didn't know why. She was just more of her anxiety was just higher than the other two. So she was probably the next one who got diagnosed actually because of that. Ariel was just probably more socially, where you notice more social cues were not quite being hit, and that was
Yeah.
really it for Ariel as far as that, and that's how we found that out. But like I said, but I cook with all kinds of foods and vegetables, so they've been introduced to all that stuff. So they're on the Mediterranean diet right now.
Okay. Oh,
To me,
that's
seems to be the best.
Yeah, no, so good. So there are, Carrie Riviera, who's a friend of mine, who's on Mike Adams, the Health Rangers Network Brighteon. So she works with a lot of families, and she's really kind of pushing the carnivore diet. The Mediterranean diet would be a little bit better, I would think, just from my research and seeing kind of everything that I see. But you need the fats, man. You need those
Yes.
balanced omega-3 and omega-6 fats, and
Yes.
adding omega-3s is just so. You're such a good mom, Carrie. My gosh,
Well, I
wow!
think I started out. I mean, I think it was just my background that really helped me, and just how we started them out too, because we didn't start out with jar baby foods or formulas or anything like that. I mean, they were also 33 weeks, premature too. So
Oh,
I wasn't
really?
sure if that was part of what had,
How
caused
many
it.
how many weeks?
They were born at 33 weeks,
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
but they
oxygen.
were almost like they were about 5 pounds a piece. And there was no more room, so they were coming. It didn't matter. They were coming.
They were coming.
So
Yeah, and by
they
the way,
were they
Carrie
were
is not a big woman by any means.
no, no,
You're
no,
not stature wise. You don't have a large frame.
no.
So what do you do for a living? I think this is cool. So,
Well, I retired this year in May, an Oklahoma City firefighter.
very
So I retired
cool.
after 25 years. So yeah, it was an awesome job. I loved it. I loved it. I
Yeah,
hated to
no,
leave. You really hate to go,
yeah,
but
but
I'm loving
that's
retirement too. So it's hard to
yeah.
just, yeah,
You work for that day, right? When you can
yes,
retire and have those kind of nice pension and benefits and all that. But I think
yeah.
that's really
So
cool. And
we're just doing more and more things. We're getting ready to go on a really great family vacation, once in a lifetime dream vacation, because the triplets they love the water. We go to the ocean as often as we can, and they love the beach. And I will say, when they're out there and they're relaxed, they are a whole lot different in a relaxed, totally different environment, which I love. So that makes a big difference for me too. And I think that helps them decompress so much. But we can only be gone 3 or 4 days because they need to get back in routine, and they're ready to do that. And that's what I like too. And they want to get back in routine, but they like the decompression of it, which is interesting to me. But then they're ready to get back to just let's get back to routine. And they need that. They need to stay and be in routine all the time,
do you
as
like in
often
the
as they can.
Oh, sorry. In the summer, like when they're not in school, do you have pretty structured, like, do you keep everything pretty structured for them as far as time, it's time to do this, time to do that kind of, or is it a
Um,
little more wide
Not
open?
so much anymore. I don't really have to do that much anymore. They pretty much keep themselves on a schedule. Like they go to bed around the same time every night, and they'll just say, "Okay, I'm tired," and they go to bed. And Triton's the same way. Everyone's in bed before 10 o'clock, and they've been that way forever.
You
And
have
no.
there's so many autistic parents out there going that'll watch this and go, wow,
Well,
you're like
that
they're going to be doing this.
that also comes from the get go. To me, that comes from the get go on your sleep patterns. Because with triplets, I was like, okay, we can't be up with one baby every hour. We will never sleep or eat, or we'll die. So
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, you're
I
all going to go
mean,
to sleep now. You're all going to sleep. You're all going to eat. I mean, so they born. We kept them on a tight scheduling because we had to with my work schedule and his. Because being a firefighter, I'm gone 24 hours. So that meant my parents had to keep triplets while me and their dad were at the station, because their dad is also a firefighter. So we were both gone 24 hours. So my parents took over and raised triplets with us for 16 years. So
wow, wow.
yeah,
Did you, and so you've got a lot of family support, I guess, kind of
we have a
around you.
lot. Yeah, we have a lot. Yeah. Well, mostly my parents and stuff, but yes, but yeah, they've been great. Of course, they wanted to watch the grandbaby when it was born. So surprise.
Yes.
Yeah, you had three. So
Surprise, you have 3.
they were already in the contract. It's a done deal. I already told them that's a contract. You're keeping all three. You already said you'd watch the grandbaby. So now there's babies. So
So
it
so
worked
so
out.
so one thing that you did, and I found this was fascinating because I was so excited when you decided to come in and have your kiddos bioresonance. And bioresonance is just my disc. I got to say these disclaimers. So it's not a medical device. It's not. It can't diagnose anything. It's informational, but it is a frequency device, and so it finds information in frequency, and it's really good at identifying pathogens and kind of, let's say, it's good at indicating disease and pathogens. So when Carrie's kiddos came in, I really thought, man, what an opportunity, because there's this triplets. So genetically, we're kind of on the same playing field, and they're going to, have similar things, and we're likely going to see the same thing in all three of them. No, that was so far. Yeah, but that did give us enough of a baseline to look at maybe a little bit different, protocol, which you kind of already knew anyway for each kid. But did you find that helpful, the bioresonance, the beginning
Yes, I
place?
did. I think so. Yeah, that helped us. I mean, I think put them on that product. I mean, it's a CBD product, so I think that makes a huge difference. Yeah, but they only had to start out with one tablet, but as they grew and got bigger, we went to 2 tablets. Will they go to 3? I don't know. Maybe if they need it, because they start high school next year. So I don't know how that's going to affect their anxiety
Well,
or anything.
and one of the cool things that with our product, so our product is really just food, right? So it's, it's just now we just sort of figured out, again, I think I do know pretty well how you work, and, in theory. And so we kind of take that theory and we go to nature. We can find things in nature, bloop, and put them together as natural products.
Yes.
So all of our stuff is just food. So kind of the cool thing is, as they get older, we can basically have dietary things that we can suggest that will offset, the supplements that they're taking.
Yes.
So over time, they'll be able to do it all with food, which is cool.
Yes. Well, we do. They also do. We do some gut therapy, so they're on a probiotic as well, and they do a prebiotic too.
Good.
And we also do lion's mane, which is a mushroom blend, which I
Yep.
like to give them in the morning. It's a liquid, but it's just helps with everything. So I keep them on, and we eat a lot of mushrooms. They love mushrooms, but like I said, they grew up eating a lot of that because that's how I cooked and made their food. So I think we were just ahead of the food sensory issues. Do my kids have food sensory? Yes, they do. Trinity will eat. She needs crunch. She needs something that crunches, because with her anxiety and her ADHD, she needs that. So she eats a lot of raw vegetables. You name a vegetable, she will eat it raw. Doesn't matter. If it crunches, she wants it. So it's carrots, mostly carrots and apples, and peppers. She loves to eat carrots, apples, and peppers raw. She just comes in the kitchen and grabs them. So that I love. Do my other kids? Ariel is not a big vegetable eater, not raw, but she will eat. I can make roasted vegetables. Her and Triton love roasted vegetables, and so will Trinity. So I make a blend of zucchini, squash, and broccoli into some olive oil and roast it a little bit. But they all still need crunch, so I have to roast it, but not to the point it's soft. That way Trinity will eat it, and it's enough crunch for Triton and Ariel to eat. That took time too, but yes. But I've got them eating everything in a Mediterranean diet, and we do go out and eat. We do go out and eat. Yes, I treat them. We do go out and eat. Are they gluten free? I do keep them gluten free, but they're not gluten intolerant because we had them tested.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not gluten intolerant. However, gluten does cause inflammation in everything, in every body. It just does somewhere, somehow. So I'm thinking just avoiding it is got to be helpful, because I avoid it for joint inflammation. It can cause inflammation in many places. So we just avoid it whenever possible. All the time? No, I don't have to all the time, but I had them tested for that too. So I would suggest getting tested for gluten intolerance too, if they're autistic.
Yeah. And so you said, I think this is really important, and I'm finding this in, believe it or not, in weight loss and how your taste buds work, and literally the neurological signals that get kind of sent around by your taste buds. So the kids that are, and I know if you've got an autistic kid and your kid likes potato chips, good luck trying to take them away from them. But that crunch may be more important than that actual potato chip itself.
That's what I discovered. It's the crunch. You get them something that can crunch, that's good, they'll do. I mean, it works. Does Triton eat apples and fruit? Triton does not eat fruit. He doesn't really care for fruit a lot, but he eats all the vegetables. He eats and he likes seafood, and he likes like oysters and scallops and awkward sensory things like that you would not think, but he loves them. But the girls are getting there too. So I don't know if it's just the maturity of what they're doing, or everything's kind of helping everything kind of diminish a little bit. It's hard to say, but yes, their food sensories are getting less and less as they
Interesting.
grow up and as they mature and as we're on the product. So I think it's just a great combo. I
Yeah.
think their nutrition and the product, I think they all just kind of work together. Like you said, your products are mainly food, but I think that's part of it. But
Yeah.
nutrition to me is a really big key for autistics, especially in their behavior as well and their anxiety.
Yep. Yeah. No,
They
completely.
don't get donuts and they don't get, I mean, we make cauliflower pizza, but I try to avoid a lot of donuts. Now, do they get a donut? Sure. They make gluten-free donuts, but I'll give them a treat donut now and then for like on a Saturday or a Sunday every once in a while. But it's almost too sweet. And like, we'll stop and get an icy and they just like to make the swirls like rainbow ices. They may have one or two drinks and they throw them away. It's
Interesting.
just the process of making it. So I let them do things like that, and they don't really drink themselves. It's too sweet because they don't get a lot of sweets. We don't do a lot of sweets.
Yeah, that's interesting. And boy, are you, you're way ahead of the game, with most, just congratulations. I mean, I know that takes a lot of discipline and it's, you've got a lot of parents going, damn it, I wish I could do that right now.
Well, like I said, I think coming from just the way, I competed and we had I meal prep from. I've been competing since 1992, so I've been meal prepping since 1992 before it was even around. So just and then having children, and I have an older son, so I was a mom prior to that. So they have an older brother who's 20 years older. So,
That's
but it's
cool
just
though.
so and he's he ate great too. I mean, it was just my background, and just luckily I was into that when I was younger. I was into bodybuilding and working out and being healthy and knowing everything about nutrition. Now I just know a lot more when autism came up, because trying to get pregnant, we were having some issues too. So I went all organic and I did detoxes and things like that. So I didn't eat any processed foods trying to get pregnant or anything. I did everything. I wanted everything out of my system. I wanted to be everything. So,
Yep.
and I'm hoping that is a part of why their autism isn't as severe as so many denote.
Oh,
So I watched, because when I found out we were pregnant, I I figured out how much my protein would need to be, my carbohydrates, my fats. I knew what everything needed to be to support 4 humans. And that's
wow.
what I ate daily. That's what I ate daily. I went on a diet pregnant.
Yeah, no,
But it
that's
was
really
to have
cool.
healthy babies. It was to have healthy babies. Were my babies healthy? Extremely. They were extremely healthy. They were almost 5 pounds apiece for triplets. They needed no oxygen. They needed nothing. They had 3 teams of people there. We needed nothing. We were in the hospital maybe 7 or 8 days, and they all three went home
At
together.
33 weeks?
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah.
that's impressive
So
too.
that's, to me, already proved what nutrition can do and what it's meant to be like. So to me, I think that being in my background helped their autism luckily not be as severe as what so many families suffer from, because Triton is not aggressive in any form or fashion. Neither are they're not at all.
Yeah, no, what you're saying is
I
so
don't have
important.
behavior issues. Hardly. We don't have behavior issues.
What
Period.
what you're saying what you're saying is so important, and there's so much, and you're in the middle of this with health and nutrition, but there's so
Yeah.
much. Let's say, there's good information out there about what to do, and fasting and fed is kind of the same thing, or what to eat is the same thing.
Yes.
There's good information, but there's also really bad information, and so you've got to be really careful. And again, listen to me is kind of the wrong thing to say, but I will say that. What I've done is I've looked at a cell, right? And I've just broken everything down as to what a cell really needs. And a cell needs, again, we're just a machine. We work just like a machine. So in food is really our input and how we tune our machine. So what Carrie's saying is really important, because again, I know this. If I feed my engine, and that's my mitochondria, and autism 1,000% is a disease of mitochondrial dysfunction, 1,000%. So their mitochondria don't work right. So again, really important to make sure that we're feeding that engine right, and that engine gets fed by dietary fats. And so when you say Mediterranean diet, you're saying I'm basically paying attention to fats and I'm giving the right fats. The
Yes.
next thing that's important for a cell is amino acids. And again, we can call that protein if you want, but protein is nothing more than a bunch of little amino acids all strung together. And we need 9 essential amino acids. So you can get that, from meat, you can get that from a plant, you can get it. It doesn't, again, it's the same amino acids from a meat or a plant. So just nix that whole argument. But good for you, because it sounds like you understand that well. You've applied that with the kiddos. And again, as we understand this better and better, we'll be able to solve disease with diet. That's kind of what we're doing. It's kind of what I'm doing now, with Trumedics and our
Yes.
natural products. So good for you. And this is just, boy, are you reinforcing some things that I want to try first. So thank you.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it just what I found. I mean, you see it in your body. Like I said, I was a competitive bodybuilder. So when you see what food can do and how you get to a place in your body that you want to be, it's very scientific, and your body reacts to so many things so quickly. You just have to be aware of it. And that's really it. And that's why I thought, like, I think that's where they benefited the most, is just at least us having that background and them starting out with a healthy diet from the very get-go. I think that just helped curb their autism to where they're just not as extreme as some could be, because we never had sleep issues as babies, really, honestly, when they were growing up. But they were also never, like, we didn't vaccinate or immunize either, because I didn't with my firstborn. I mean, that's just not, I'm not that I'm against it. I'm not, that's just my choice. That's my
Yeah.
choice, and that's what we chose not to do. And I'm glad I didn't do it, because I'm glad I didn't introduce something into their system that could have made their autism even worse, when that's not what caused their autism. I do know what I think was, it contributed to what may have caused their autism, but I'm not sure. But autism's higher in multiples anyway, because just the lack of nutrition sometimes to some of the others. And they were born early, which, a lot of things aren't all the way connected at a lot of things too. And there's some reason for that. So I think we did in vitro. So I got a letter a few years later after their birth that one of the medications you get to help you produce eggs for your fertility treatment can cause autism in your offspring by about 55%.
What's that medication called?
I don't know. I don't have the letter, because I didn't even think about it then. I've looked and looked and looked, but it was some type of fertility to help you produce eggs. I do know that. That was the point of it.
Let me look that up, because I can tell you, whether that did or not.
Yes.
And so many,
And
so
I'm
many.
guessing, but we got the letter, and of course they were multiples too, and they were born early. But like I said, we didn't immunize or vaccinate either. So that's kind of where I'm kind of leaving that. I'm just,
There's no question that autism it's kind of a disease that works like, my hands are backwards on this video, so I never can get it right, but it kind of works like this. So it's like we all have a mobile of, let's say, function, right? And it's, related to our immune system and kind of what we eat and everything.
yes.
But in crisis, sometimes we can get in crisis. And again, that mobile can be pulled down, and it'll continue to be pulled down until we kind of find a new normal. And that's what it looks like autism is. And again, the cause of that, can be multi-factor. It's eventually going to be, some change, conformational change in like a pathogen situation, because it's a loop, they sort of get hijacked down at this level of function. So as soon as we can kind of break that loop, again, that function will come up. And we can kind of do that because we can get function to come up a little bit. We can't get it to come up all the way. So it really helps me to study things that science has already said, well, this is causal, so because if I can kind of figure out the mechanism of action of that, then I can map that back to a bunch of other stuff. So that's helpful. So that's interesting. And again, it's just especially all you mamas out there. Again, there is nothing that you did to cause autism in your kids. Don't ever take that on, or feel that guilt or whatever. We didn't know enough about this disease. Nobody did. And it now is, one in four, Carrie, 1 in 4 males are born with autism now. And this is, it makes COVID look like a, walk in the park. This should be an all hands on deck, science. We should have NIH dollars, focused on autism. And we should have every major university, drill down on solving this problem. And how
That would
much,
be great.
yeah. And we have nothing. We have people like me, we have independent researchers, but and there are a few, out there certainly that study the disease, and there is some, grant money in science, but it's nothing like we pointed toward COVID. And, you know, to
No.
me, obesity and autism are, you know,
Oh
the
my
two,
gosh. Yeah.
yeah, worst social problems that we have. And
Well, and
so,
that's just our processed food products. We have a Taco Bell on every corner. So I mean, it's just what's introduced to Americans. But I think that's the funny thing too, is like many other countries, like when COVID came around, they've only did one vaccination. And why the US was pushing and pushing so many more, I don't know. But many other countries, they just had one vaccination. That was it.
yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't, I'm not really sure why it was so pressed here, but we did not do the vaccinations either.
yeah.
I also watch what kind of food I buy. I just don't go buy food. We use mostly grass-fed products on everything. I get grass-fed beef. I use grass-fed chickens. We use the eggs from grass-fed. We use everything must be grass-fed. Their milk's from grass-fed cows. I don't buy anything that's grain-fed. I try not to, like farmed, like
Yep.
those farming or fish farms. I buy wild caught. If I eat fish, it's wild caught always. It's fresh because they do eat a lot. We do eat a lot of fish, and they love shrimp. So I may try to buy everything as fresh with as little chemicals as possible just to avoid anything disrupting, because COVID disruption with the routine and everything like that. Ariel, I will say my Ariel did suffer a lot of her social skills. Almost 50%, I would say she diminished 50% of what her social skills were to what they are. Is she building back up? Yes, she is. It's taken about 2.5 years to see signs of that, but she's progressively getting better and better, because she was actually my most social, my most talkative. And her and Trinity switched roles after they hit puberty and with COVID too. So I don't know really if that combination was just detrimental for her at that point, but the whole routine was disrupted for them. That was hard on them. That was probably the most difficult for them
Yeah.
and for
Okay.
me and for me. So that was
It's
hard.
a,
We just went and had to do a lot of things. We drove cross country to Florida to this awesome Clearwater aquarium, because it was the most free from mask and all that kind of stuff. We could just do what we wanted, and that's what we did. We took like a 5-day road trip, and they loved it, and that's just helped cope
everything.
with what was going on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a tough time. And I imagine triple tough for you with, so it's just, well, I want to, we're about the end of our time. So I want to, do you have anything that you want to say to, I mean, we're going to have, some autistic parents and folks with autistic situations, folks looking to help. Do you have anything that you want to really say, any advice or, lessons learned or anything to folks out there who might be looking
I think
for help or a
yeah, I don't,
lifeline?
I would say just if you get on the product, I mean, just watch it. And if you don't see signs within, I don't know, give it like a couple of weeks of something, whether it's their sleep pattern. I mean, it could be anything. To me, it was Triton's sleep pattern. And for Trinity, she was able to focus more at school. So they were totally different things that I noticed on all three of them. And Ariel was getting more relaxed and more social, especially after COVID, because I did up her tablets to 2 at that point, because she seemed almost in a depression, actually, is what I would call it.
Oh
So
gosh. Okay.
that took, and I could see signs of that coming up. So I kept her on 2 rest for a while going through that. And she's still been on that the same way. But all I see is her getting better and better socially and personally. And that's what I would say. You just have to notice the little things and increase it when you need to.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for being
Sure.
on. I think this is going to be really helpful for a lot of autistic situations, and that's
I
what
hope
we're
so.
here to do. Yeah, and I know in your heart that would make you feel really good that if
Yeah.
your
And
experience.
and I would also say keep them very active. Keep them active. We go hiking, and we go. You don't have to be exercising, but just take them hiking or to the park. I mean, just let them go and go until they don't want to go anymore. Because you get them home, and it's a different ball game. I mean, it's great. I think you'll see changes in that if you get them in that type of routine. Whether you go to the park, you know, for 45 minutes every 2 days or something like that. Any kind of routine like that. Like I said, they're in martial arts now, and they're wearing the gear. They're coping with the sounds. They're hitting the mats. They're fighting with people. I mean, so I contribute a lot of that to everything just being in a great rhythm. And once you get it, you just want to keep it. And will it change? Sure, it's going to change, because your children are going to change. They grow up and they get bigger. So you got to change some
I
things.
see you. I see you hitting it on all things. So basically defining kind of proper boundaries and kind
Yep.
of a routine and a schedule, which is really really important. You're hitting it on diet. you're hitting it on exercise, and you're hitting it on supplements. And I think
We're
that's why,
trying. We're trying. Yes.
and I think that's why you're getting the results you're getting.
I hope so. I keep it up. We're going to keep it up, and
You're,
they're
you
doing
know,
amazing. Like I said, they're starting high school next year. Trinity she's learning to drive. She's probably my most aware of directions and everything. She's very on point on all of that. She can tell you how to get somewhere, how to get back, and everything. So she's learning to drive. She'll be the one who wants to drive. Ariel doesn't want any part of it. So, and I know Triton can't really drive because he's not talking, but she's going to learn to drive. We're going to get her signed up in driving school classes this summer. So I'm hopeful that even if it takes 1 or 2 or 3 times, I don't care, but it doesn't matter. So she wants to, so we're going to try it and see how it goes.
very cool. We'll leave it there for today, Carrie, but we'll have
Okay.
you back because this is so interesting. So I love your story. I love you. And thank you for being just a wonderful mom and everything you're doing. So,
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
okay. Well, we'll see you guys later. We'll leave it
Okay,
there.
thank you. Bye.